marketing is what creates the leads. Sales is what creates the customers. Because you're doing all the asking and now they're doing all the talking, you should have 5, 10, 15 minutes of them talking. So you should get a rough understanding. If you've studied DISC, you don't have to be a master. You just got to understand a few things to help you get a decent idea as to who this person is, and therefore, how can I connect with them faster? Hi, I'm Jim Diebold. Welcome to the Adaptive Seller Podcast. Here we're going to explore how to have better sales conversations. We're going to do that by leveraging DISC behavior and communication styles. Before we start, click the link in the description to download the free guide. This guide is going to help you better understand how to communicate with your prospects and clients. For those of you who are listening in the car, let me run through the 4 styles. D is dominance. They're direct, they stick to business, they are your stereotypical type A personality. I is influence. They're social, talk with their hands, the big smiles, everyone is their friend. S is steadiness. They're loyal, they're empathetic, they're peacekeepers, tend to be risk adverse. C is compliance. They're the rule followers, they're process oriented, they like lots of data. With those things in mind, let's get to the episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Adaptive Seller, where we explore how to have better sales conversations. Today, our guest is Matt Flynn with Payroll Partners. Matt, why don't you give us a little story about yourself and Payroll Partners?
So I have been in sales for over 20 years, and I found my way into payroll because I guess I always liked government sort of, and I always followed government sort of and politics and things like that. But I kind of discovered early on I didn't want to get into the whole campaign and election side of things, but I did really find out in one of my first B2B sales jobs how interested I was in compliance. So I've always been drawn to playing this role of marriage counselor between business and government, and then helping people, essentially helping people be compliant, helping them deal with things that they have to deal with for their business. And that's what I get to do every day in payroll. I found my way to Payroll Partners 5 years ago. Had just celebrated my 5-year anniversary very recently, and fit in there like in an awesome way. My personality type was I wanted to be at a growing company. I wanted to have a seat at the table, and I have a million ideas about a million different things, and I liked to be able to have impact. We're going to be talking about DISC, and I always tested high on the D side, so like I'm very much an impact-driven person. So that was my draw to that size of a company, and then the ability to help businesses and payroll. And I also am a people person. I do have I test a little on the I side as well. So I always liked people, and I got to just check all my boxes, and I've grown there, and now I'm in a manager role, and I have salespeople reporting to me, and it's awesome. I can't imagine working anywhere else. We're now the largest payroll company headquartered in the Cincinnati market. We're the fastest growing payroll company headquartered in the Cincinnati market. We're the payroll company you go to for anything complicated. If you really want a high service model with people that you can count on to do your payroll for you. So I'm loving it. But hope that answers your question.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And as a former, like, traditional brick and mortar business owner with employees, we went through 2 of the more common named payroll companies. Both were extremely frustrating. Felt like a number. You talk about high service from you guys. We did not have that. We definitely felt like a number. So just that alone, I wish we would have known about you guys back then, quite honestly, but it's all good.
Yep. Yeah. It's unfortunately, as salespeople, I think it can be good to seek out sales roles and you look at the competitive landscape of what you're trying to do. And I love people would think, why do you like payroll so much? There's a million payroll companies out. I'd be like, there's not many pushing people behind their payroll, and that's what I bring to the table, and I don't have that much competition out there. There's a lot of dashboards, but not a lot of payroll people.
Man, that's awesome. Now, how long have you been in a leader role?
So since last year.
Since last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had inside sales leadership roles in the past, in previous positions. I had manager roles in the restaurant biz early in my career. But this is Payroll Partners. It's been a more recent phenomenon since we've been able to grow and add salespeople.
Fantastic. Being a manager in a restaurant, it takes a special breed of person, I must say. Having come from the restaurant business,
oh yeah,
no doubt, you got a lot of really good education doing that, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that was actually more fun. I did enjoy it. That was probably it. Just didn't, the hours and the pay weren't the greatest,
exactly.
But the actual interaction with people and customers, and it was fun. It was enjoyable.
Okay, so as we kind of dive now into some of the questions that are kind of that I'm thinking of as a leader, and this may pertain to your team, it may not. What behavior tends to frustrate you the most?
What frustrates me the most would be, I've noticed, are things that I have to start realizing that I'm naturally a little bit of a unicorn in that I'm into these things, and most other salespeople are not. So like I do have a little bit of that. To be more specific, what I mean by that, I'm having this issue right now with prospecting where I go about prospecting in the initial phase like a private investigator, meaning like, okay, I have this thing called the World Wide Web or the internet available to me.
Yep.
And I know that there's a company that I want to buy my products and services. Now I have to come up with a strategy to approach them. And I have this tool called the internet. And I like to use that to figure out who should I call, a little bit about the company, and what approach I should use in my prospecting. I have noticed that the majority of people who are willing to do that type of work want to be spoon-fed all of that information and are not willing to kind of go about the work and doing the research. Hence why Payroll Partners recently contracted with ZoomInfo so that we could help get more help as we develop more people different than myself. Because I felt like I can't expect these folks to spend as much time doing this and enjoy that part of the job.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I have found is like that is one more recent. Other things with sales that I notice other salespeople tend to not enjoy doing that I tend to like is I realized this through some leadership training I'm doing that I used to say I'm kind of confrontational. I realize I don't know that I'm not confrontational. I just love resolution. I hate confrontation where I feel that goes nowhere. I don't seek that out ever.
Yeah.
But I seek out moments of aha, like those aha moments, right? And I think like that can be the best sales skill you can have in a sales meeting is where you can really see somebody thinking about something. And if you can draw that out of a prospect in a discovery meeting, then that's the magic.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all about asking them the right questions. And a lot of times those are hard questions. And this is something me and my CEO who does a lot of sales, we debate sometimes. I'm like, I feel like if I can get the prospect to where they're a little bit uncomfortable, then that's when I'm closing them.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm really being a salesperson. It's not about getting the information you need to understand their current situation and then find out what little ways we might be able to, bring in my differentiators. I mean, that's all common sense to me now. Like now it's like getting them to think about, their decision-making process.
Yeah.
And how they're even going about it. And that's what's really magical. And that's what's hard though with a new salesperson. Because and I don't know that I would, and I'm real big in empathy, but like, just like understanding that's hard for somebody to be confident enough to create that type of feeling within a meeting in a sales, because you kind of are in that like, I'm the wuss. I don't want to concede. I don't want to be in the power position. I want you to feel like you're in power, and I want you to feel confident. And a lot of buyers are like that, especially in the HR world that I'm dealing, like VPs of HR.
They talk to a lot of you guys.
They hate sales.
And similar, yes.
They hate salespeople, and they don't want to be sold. But I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to ask you hard questions about your situation, why you're where you are, and how you're going about to fix it. And that's one thing I've been spending a lot of time on, is figuring out how to get to those questions.
Yeah.
Of like, you're a and this is I'm going into like the payroll space a little bit heavy, but HR people are really good with people too. Most people in HR, they're on the disc.
They have to be.
Yeah, they're those I folks, or they're also sometimes compliance folks too. They're in the middle, but they're good with people. Yet when they go about shopping my products and services, they go about it like they're an IT person. Yeah. and they go through these software demos just trying to find these these little differences between this platform and this platform. In the back of my mind, I'm like, it's gonna probably take you years to get every manager and employee and yourself completely using every single module within a platform that I sell.
Yeah.
And it's like, you should be asking questions. What people are you going to give me to get the most out of this platform in the shortest amount of time? And that none of them go about it that way. So it's like my thing was like figuring out how to get them to go there, but that's hard. And then getting a newer sales rep to feel comfortable to ask those type of hard questions. That's something I could use help on, is like, how do you get sales reps to have the confidence to ask hard questions in their first meeting with the prospect?
Yeah, so there was a lot baked into what you just shared there. And we'll start at the beginning, where you were talking about even getting the meeting in the first place. In the example you gave, it was more of a cold call, right? You're using the internet. You're like, maybe you're using LinkedIn, but you're like, this company needs to be our client.
Yes.
And I go find out who the HR person is, or whatever that may be, or whoever that may be. And now I need a campaign to create a relationship to allow them to feel comfortable allowing me to come have a meeting with them, right?
Yes.
And as that high D that you said you are, well suited for cold calling because of the competitive nature that comes with being a high D.
Yes.
Like, this is an opportunity for me to do well, and I'm going to go attack that.
Yes.
Also, being a high I, being the social person. Someone who is a high S, who is now more on the introvert scale, who possibly is going to feel like they might be bothering somebody by sending them an email, or a message on LinkedIn, is going to hesitate to do that. It might take them a week to send that first one, to get up the courage to send that first one.
Yes.
And the C, good chance that they're going to overanalyze their message and come back to it and delete it and retype it and do that 3 or 4 times until they finally do it. But in the time that you've done that, the person good at cold calling, someone more like yourself, will already have contacted like 100 people.
Yeah.
Instead of 2.
Yes.
Now we're in the meeting, the next thing that you shared. And without using the words, you said consultative selling.
Yeah.
This is where we are asking this prospect really good questions about what they're currently doing. I think you articulated it well. There are so many nuances to payroll software, and the other things, the ancillary things that can be provided with payroll processing and whatnot. Too many things to talk about.
Yeah.
And you said that they don't like to be sold. One of my favorite phrases that I wish I could say I coined it, but I didn't. But the phrase is, nobody likes to be sold, but everybody likes to buy.
Yeah.
So we just have to lean into what are those triggers, if you will, or the gaps in what they currently have versus what they don't know they don't have. Because sometimes they don't know what they don't have.
Yeah.
As far as features and benefits go. What I said in one of my recent episodes, telling isn't selling. Like, you start talking about the features of what you guys offer, And it's like them looking at software demos. All they're doing is comparing a bunch of facts and they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And who knows, it might take them 2 months to make a decision. But if we go in, start asking some really good questions. What do you like? What do you not like? Like basic questions to start getting them talking. And now we start to learn things about what they're sharing. More importantly, like on the card there, we start to get a feel for who they are as a person too, what makes them tick.
Yeah.
But to the folks, by the way, there are way more I's and S's population-wise than there are D's and C's.
Yeah.
So people-oriented folks, but you got a big chunk of S's in there and they don't want to disappoint. They don't want to make mistakes. They want to look good. They'd rather walk away than hear no.
Yeah.
As a rule. But so here's something that you can use with your folks. And I know a couple of your guys had done DISC assessments with me in the past. I just don't remember them off the top of my head. But someone that's an S, they don't want to disappoint, right? So my phrase that I use is, how do we hack your thought process? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we know how you think as a person, and we know that you're feeling uncomfortable in certain situations. So how do we hack that? So in a situation where I'm across the table from a prospect and I feel uncomfortable about asking a certain question or questions, the hack is, for the S, hack is, if you don't, you're actually hurting them more. So you got to help them understand that they're doing more damage to this person by not educating them, which means I need to ask this question to get the information so that I can educate them better, because I don't want to sell them. I want to give them info and then they get to choose. But I'm confident in what I have that they're going to choose me. But they're making the choice because I've given them the info. But anyway, the point is, we need our salesperson who might be that S who's timid and doesn't want to ask that question to rethink or reframe why they need to ask that question.
Let me ask you that. Yeah. So I had a meeting with one of my newest, more greenest SDRs yesterday, and he had never done a real B2C or B2B sales role, but he had done sales type activities through coaching like high school kids.
Okay.
So this was some of his experience. And then so like when I was meeting with him, I tried to tell him, I'm listening to you on the phone and you're timid and you're not confident and you're not talking like, I know you can.
Right.
And I said, so I need you to start thinking about how you approach those high school kids who need some coaching.
Yeah.
You weren't intimidated by them. You felt like they needed you and you needed them.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to approach, like, I know this is the first time you've ever called into like legit businesses, maybe talk to a person who owns a $10 million business or a VP of HR or somebody like that. And I'm like, I know this is the first time you've done it, but like, you need to remember, like, I was like, remember, they don't know that they need us, but we are the best payroll company in Cincinnati. And you need to think that way. And you need to be as confident in talking to them as you were with those high school kids. And I don't know if that worked well or if I was kind of like hacking his mind as I just thought of this analogy to maybe say to him to help him coach him. And he got a meeting, and he had been, we're going a week or two without one. He got one 20 minutes after our meeting. That's awesome. So, I think, and I think he'd been doing it a while, and I knew he would. I knew he would have to like you said, some of it I can't, they have to almost, and his personality type is, I don't think a D like me as much. So I think, I haven't had him tested yet. I probably should, but like, I think he needs to kind of build up that confidence a little bit more with a little more trial and error. And I think that's another frustrating thing for a D like me, is to just like, I've kind of just, created all these analogies, like some things you can do in a 1, and then with one, like you need to be told once, other people need to be told 3 times. But remember, don't think you can just seek out a bunch of people like you who need to be told once. Most people are going to need to be told 3 times, and you've already told them once. Now you only got 2 more. If you bring in somebody else, it's going to be 3 more again. So it's just like, that's the thing I keep motivating. And I feel like that does work. I do feel like, you start, like I have other senior reps. They're just, they don't pick up payroll and government tax filing type policies and stuff as quickly as me, but they do pick it up. It's just, they got to be told 2 or 3 times. Yep. And then it clicks, and then they're great. So it's just like having that patience and, but then they have assets that I don't have. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know what it was. It wasn't DISC. It was one of those other personality tests I took once, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember at the end of it, it said, I'm more of a marketing mind than I am an account manager mind. I'm not a relationship type salesperson.
Interesting.
So, and I do kind of see that a little bit because I do enjoy.
You like cold calling.
Well, like a lot of people I work with, a lot of other salespeople I work with, like I work a lot with like 401k and health broker types and payroll, right? And they're also in business development, but they're all building books, right?
Sure.
We don't build a book in my industry. If you're in payroll sales, it's like a revolving door of new clients.
Right.
But I like that about it. And I think that's, kind of unique. I don't necessarily want to build I don't want to build 100 long-term relationships. I kind of like the idea of having 1,000 people who just know a little bit about me, and I got them in the door, and I can keep going, and I get to meet new people all the time and help them. So
that's a hunter mindset.
Yeah.
Which would be common for someone like yourself, the high D, high I on the DISC scale, where it's just one after another, keep winning, if you will.
Yes.
Whereas someone that's a high S, for example, and certainly a high I. I said I before because the D component is more the hunter part.
Yeah.
But I's and especially S's, more farmers.
Okay.
So they love building relationships.
Okay.
So it may take them a little longer to get to a certain level that you would like to have them at in production or whatever it might be, but their clients are less likely to leave.
Yes.
Because they will build, as a rule, they will build much stronger relationships with that person, almost to a fault, where they can lose time by spending excess time. They don't think it's excess time, but spending the excess time with the client, building that relationship, because that's what makes them tick.
Yeah.
But the plus is that, again, they tend to be stronger relationships. So they're just more relational. And so that's kind of the give and take of someone like yourself who's more direct and to the point and hunter and let's go win, versus the higher, more naturally empathetic person, relational person who's like, well, we don't have to go just yet. Like, let me tell you about my pets and my family, and let me learn about your pets and your family, and when's your kid's birthday? And
yes,
it's just a totally different approach. Both can be extremely successful as long as the more important part is we're picking up on what the prospect is giving us. We need to understand their style.
Yeah.
So are they short and to the point? Because if they are, they're not going to relate to the S or I who wants to tell a bunch of personal stories. They're gonna be like looking at their watch a lot, hoping that the meeting's going to be over soon. The high C is going to want to give a whole bunch of details and a whole bunch of facts. And again, they're going to be looking at their watch like, man, you got to get. And those are the nuances that we want our salespeople to be able to pick up on that says, okay, this is a person that's to the point, like, let me get to the point, and then I'm going to do my follow-ups, and we're going to, sign a contract with these people.
What do you do? I'm going to give you a real hard one.
Okay.
Because it's like my lost Super Bowl. Like, people, you remember I remember better the deals that I felt like I should have gotten that I didn't get. So without saying anything specific, this was a client referral from somebody within like an HR networking group that they were in. Like, I'm just like, so this is like, and this is one of my clients that loves us. And so I'm like, okay, I need to close this deal. This is a client referral.
Yep.
It's the situation of the prospect is like my skill set is perfect for, they were leaving a PEO and already decided that it's between me and a few other payroll HR type companies. And then it's bigger. They're also going to keep growing. So, but the problem with this particular situation is I felt like the person I was meeting with was temporarily leading their decision-making process right before she went into retirement. And then in the first meeting, the main person who was going to be managing everything was definitely, so this person was an S, was very much a very, very tough tough older lady, didn't kind of like, I could tell, like I knew in the meeting to not like overstep her rules or boundaries. And I stayed within her boundaries very much throughout the process. But unfortunately, her person underneath her who was going to be taking over everything for the long-term implementation of this platform was just like kept out of it. And I had my gut was to push, like, why isn't she, why isn't she more involved? You're part-time now, you're about to retire. I mean, no offense, but like this is what I didn't say in the meeting.
Yeah.
You're not going to be part of getting the most out of this platform for the next 1 to 3 years. So, can I ask her some questions?
Yeah.
I didn't do that because I was scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was intimidated by by who was presented themselves as the decision maker. And I just was like, so I didn't know how to necessarily balance that with, because I'm also, here's the other thing. I've gotten good at holding back my D and selling to I's and C's, and because it's very much like, it's an asset, but it's also like,
it can be overbearing.
Yeah. I'm like, so I guess in my head, I'm like, Matt, this is the type of person who won't like you. You need to chill. You need to chill. Like that's in the back of my head. Don't go too hard. Don't go too hard. So I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't get that deal.
Yeah.
I went through it. I did everything. We had a good demo. I did all this stuff. I differentiated us.
Yeah.
All the right sales talking points. But I felt like I didn't go after the strategic sale of the organization and maybe even get them to rethink who the decision maker should be.
Yeah.
And that was probably the only way I got that deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't I go there? What did I have to lose? I didn't get it. I might have upset somebody a little bit, but maybe I wouldn't have, so I don't know. But anyway, I don't know what you think about that situation.
No, it's interesting. And yeah, you can second guess that one forever. To use your Super Bowl analogy, you've probably replayed the tape 100 times to try to figure out, why did the pass get dropped in the end zone? I don't understand. Now, there's some context I don't know. And some of this is actually not, some of my response is not specifically disc related as it is to just regular like sales technique, if you will. And you were on the right path. But the question is, what should, or I shouldn't say should, because there's always multiple ways to say something. What could I have asked or said, right? Yeah. And so what comes through my mind is, first of all, from a context perspective, it's who did your friend or client introduce you to? Was it this lady who is retiring?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So your friend, your client introduced you to this lady who's retiring.
Yes.
I'm assuming you had some kind of rapport banter of some kind about your client and how the meeting came to be because, they love you guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
And whatever, right? So there's a little of that or whatever. But it sounds like despite all that, she's like all business.
She was actually, let me reword your thought of her.
Okay.
My gut was, this is, I'm going to get real sales specific personality type with you. So, there's this thing that I have envied with female sales reps, with female decision makers.
Yeah.
Is I don't have the ability, and maybe I do, and I'm just not good as a football coach type of guy.
Yeah.
To leverage this in my S's. So this lady's an S, and she's the S who wants a female S. So this is so imagine the prospect who like wants to hear something like, "I love your blouse," or something, like
got it.
Was looking and like, and I'm just like, I can S with some people, but not that. And I've seen, and I've envied. I had a colleague who I used to do joint sales meetings with, and she was perfect at this too. And I feel like that's and I just know in the back of my head, that's why I lost this deal. It was a female sales rep who is good at S-ing, like in the sales discovery meetings.
I'm going to use that term, S-ing.
It was good at S-ing in that like way, or in the meet, or she was and maybe I'm confused. Sometimes I confuse S and I. Maybe she's more of an I and an S together, but like she was just really good at building rapport.
Yep.
With this person in a way that only
Talking about the other sales rep?
The other sales rep.
Yep. Okay.
There's a certain way females build rapport with each other that I can't fake. I can't be my authentic self, and I don't know how to.
Yes.
And I've seen that happen enough and witnessed it enough in my sales career with female sales reps who are good at that I've just envied that skill, and I just don't know how to get that in my toolbox.
It would not come out as genuine from you.
Yes, exactly.
And to be honest, I don't know that you can specifically get that skill, because for a long time it'll come across as you're faking it to try to make a connection.
Yes.
Instead of just being yourself to make the connection.
I don't do that. I don't fake it.
Yeah. Well, there's no point, because they can tell.
Yeah.
The person that referred you, man or woman?
It was a man.
Okay. Would have been better if it was a woman. Just saying, because of that, the way you're describing the other sales rep.
Yes. But
that wasn't the case.
Yes.
So you're trying to connect with this lady.
Yes.
On two fronts. Number one, you have the plus that she has some comfort with you already because of the referral person, right?
Yeah.
She trusts the referral person. But the other sales rep who won the project was better at connecting with her. So the real question is, how do I do that as myself and not have to be, let's say, bubbly? I don't know exactly what this other lady sales rep was like, but let's just say bubbly and more personable, if you will, to use those words, versus your natural style of just being fairly to the point, right? Not necessarily blunt in a sales scenario, but just like to the point, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
So how do we make that connection? It's a little challenging, right? We got to lean into the things. Maybe we ask one more or two more rapport questions.
Yeah.
To build that relationship.
Finding that
deeper.
Yeah. I guess and then I feel like it can get to, there's a point where are you getting fake, where you start asking, you take the topic to the rapport areas.
Correct.
Because you're just trying to find that one thing you can kind of bond with that person on, and you're right, like that same kind of person who I feel like I'm struggling to create that with. You find out that little your kids go to the high school I went to, and then boom, you got something, right? And you're building a rapport on that. I do have a kind of related to this whole topic. One of the people who report to me now is an awesome female sales rep, and she too has this skill that I lack. So I do have her I could bring in to help in these situations if I need as a tool for me personally. But I've also kind of told her this, and I'm like, I think you could go up market more within the HR space, because I think the type of prospects that you're best at closing are the type of people who are going to be in the HR space. And she's kind of stayed a little more down market, because I think she likes the down market job of selling, like just smaller, selling business owners and referrals and staying down market for payroll sales. But I'm like, I think she could kill it, in this exact type of scenarios where you're meeting with, HR people about a big change and needing to not just, hit up the C part and hit up, those hard questions, but definitely the creating rapport, being an I and really all of it is important. So I'm trying to help her be like, you're naturally good at selling the decision makers for our products. So like if you go up market. Yeah. So, but I think that's also like, getting her trained on the technical side too. That's the one part. And I think we'll get her there, but
make no mistake. There are plenty of women that are also high D's and high I's, and they're very confident and they're very good in the same way that you are. So the disc pieces are gender neutral.
I think she might be a D too. Like, the one that reports to me especially.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, they may say a few things differently or interact a little bit differently just because guys and gals are different, but they still have the similar driving forces if they're a D, I, S, or C, just like a guy might be. So those tendencies, behavioral and communication tendencies, will then be very similar between any man or woman who has a similar DISC
Yes.
assessment. So we do have to keep that in mind. These tendencies are agnostic
Got it.
to guys or gals.
Okay.
So when we're going back then to this lady that was kind of the gatekeeper for this opportunity, other than maybe one or two other questions to try to gain rapport, maybe were you in her office or a conference room?
Her office.
Her office. So as you look around the office, then you can ask questions about a picture, a trophy, a plaque, a whatever, to get her to tell a story. Because if she is a relational person, obviously this fits for guys too. If they're relational because it's family photos or vacation photos, they are more relational, I's or S's. If it's trophies and plaques, they're probably D's or C's, because those are the kinds of things that, as a rule, are more proud of those different things. So it gives us a little indicator as to who this person might be. But either way, letting them talk about something that's meaningful to them, regardless of their style, is going to help create that rapport.
Yeah.
And then with the person that referred you to them, it's, here's what, if I would go back in time, here's what, whatever his name is, Steve liked about what we were able to provide for them. And just given that little blurb and anything else that you've discussed with Steve,
yeah.
What are you interested?
Probably the biggest mistake. I just thought of this. I didn't do this. I didn't do enough. I didn't reach. So like, he didn't directly refer her. Like there wasn't like an introduction.
Mm-hmm.
She just called me and said, this guy referred me to you.
Okay.
And then I never went back to him to get
some intel
to help me.
Yeah.
And then that probably could have helped me be ready. I remember this meeting. It was like, we're in an office for the HR people, and then we were at a table talking.
Yeah.
The other HR person who was going to take over after she retired
wasn't even at the table.
Wasn't at the table, but was in the room working at the desk.
Mm.
Like, and she said something like, I don't know, she kind of told me like, she's got to finish some stuff. Well, she's there in case we need her. Almost just like, you know, like she's there for me to ask questions to if you ask me stuff I don't know the answers to, or kind of. But it was a weird dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a common sales meeting I would go to where there's, you know, and then when we did the next meeting was a demo, but it was virtual. She was involved more as an equal, you know? So it was kind of interesting like that, but not full on, but anyway, we can keep outlining my one deal I should have closed. But I do find like it's just the difference in people and how to approach them in sales, just to help them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and part of the reason I think about that deal too is I really felt like I could have helped them more than who they went with. And I feel like that's why I think about it. I think too, it's more about like, not just about not getting any deal. You know, sometimes I don't get deals, and in the end, maybe that company was the better fit.
Sure.
I think, you know, to be a confident salesperson, I think you have to recognize that. But, you know, just, you know, understanding where people are at and what their motivations are. And I do like, so like, what's your advice for a salesperson who, if they really go down this disc consulting world, do you go into the meeting like figuring out who they are? Do you have a magic like 3 minute technique to figure out like what question you can ask to get to figure out whether they're a D or a I or an S or a C?
Absolutely.
And then you pull out that discovery form that you've used AI to help you. Like it's almost like a different set of questions than you would for somebody else.
No, that's a great question. The questions are always the same.
Okay.
Because when you take your product, or even if I'm talking to a prospect, you need to know all the things. Whatever those questions are for you, who do you currently use? What do you like about it? What do you not? What are you missing?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. You need to know. It's the same question no matter what. It's because you're doing all the asking and now they're doing all the talking. You should have minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes of them talking. So you should get a rough understanding if you've studied DISC and an analogy I use is, if you go to a foreign country for vacation, you don't master the language before you go. You just need to know a few things like how to ask for water, how to ask for a beer, and how to get to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. And then they respect you for trying. And then, they'll talk in English with you to help you the rest of the way. Right.
Yeah.
So similar with DISC, you don't have to be a master. You just got to understand a few things to help you get a decent idea as to who this person is, and therefore, how can I connect with them faster?
Gotcha.
So the goal is to connect with them faster and stronger so that they leave the meeting going, this person gets me.
Gotcha.
I'm going to use them. So the more questions you're asking, which you need to do anyway from a consultative sales approach, now you're listening to their tone, their word choice, the length of message they're giving you. So if they're short and to the point, like 2-word sentences like a teenager would, because that's all they utter, but it's not about that, right? It's about getting things done quickly. They're probably a D. That's a telltale sign. If they're giving you longer responses with a bunch of like personal, relational kind of information kind of baked into it, they're probably an I. If they're giving you a decent response and it sounds like they're trying to be a little politically correct with how they're wording everything so that you understand it, they're probably an S. And if they're giving you tons of detail, because to them every detail is important to know and understand, they're probably a C. So you're gaining information or kind of whittling down your assumption on as to what kind of style, primary style. Like these aren't, I'm going to pause here for a second and say, like, none of this is like written in stone.
Yeah.
Okay. So to say that you're a high D, okay, great, but you are also a high I, and that matters. But someone else can be a high D and a high C and totally different from you, and we can't pick on them and say that you guys are similar.
Yeah.
You might have some similar tendencies in certain situations, but then in other situations, they're going to be the thinkers and rule followers where you're probably not.
Yeah.
So we don't want this to be like an etched in stone thing. We want it to be kind of a decoder ring to get us really close to connect better with the people that we're talking to.
Do you think it would be good? Do you recommend for salespeople to be able to come out of, because I get what you're saying. Don't overthink it. Just take a few bits of knowledge. It'll actually have a lot of impact in how you might go about doing your sales process. Like you can almost like tweak your sales process for a C, right?
Yes.
You might, a C is going to be like the guy who referred me. I remember closing that guy. He was very C-like in, how he bought from us. Cause I remember doing 7 meetings. 7 meetings.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah. And we and that's not common for a company his size, just buying payroll, timekeeping, and HR, but he vetted every little complicated thing they were trying to do. Ironically, what he did for me was give me 3 stories I use in sales meetings since to show how awesome my software is, because I got so in the weeds and helping him.
Yeah, you learned a lot of stuff.
I got some good big picture statements that I can say, like, this is why my PTO and vacation tracking is the best. I go, like, I had a client that I did that, we did literally figure out how to do this and keep it fully automated. No other system could. Yeah. And then I wouldn't, had he not done that, I wouldn't have that story. So it's like, every time, so I almost feel like I kind of like C's for that. And I am a very technical, consultative seller by nature in payroll. So I love C. I love C stuff. And then I think I'm also good at, with my eye, of taking that C situation and then dumbing it down,
turning it relational
to the person who can get the big picture of what you're the point you're making without going into the weeds details. Yeah. But I can be a little long-winded too. That's my biggest weakness as a sales rep. Yeah.
That's the high eye coming through. They express themselves through words.
Yes.
That's just the way it is. And so those are the things that Those are the things that we have to be mindful of. And then how, as a salesperson, do I work with that? Because a high I could just keep going and honestly just talk about relational things and you never even actually get to business. So if you're not controlling that part of the conversation, you can have what feels like a fantastic encounter, but you actually didn't accomplish anything. And if you have two eyes, have you ever seen two people, looks like they're trying to talk over each other?
Yeah.
Two eyes, and they want to get their words in edgewise. And, you got to be able to step back from that if you're the high I also and go, all right, I need to let this person go. But at some point, I got to get back control here. Technically, you are in control because they're talking, but if they're talking like a high I might, in regards to more relational type stuff and telling all their stories and everything like that, then you've kind of lost control. You got to rein it back in so that we get back onto the business part of everything. And you said something really important there about having these three stories. So another kind of just generic sales thing, it doesn't matter. DISC is not a factor in this. Earlier I said, telling isn't selling. Another one is facts tell, but stories sell. Mm-hmm. We got to remember that the sales process is an emotional process. And stories create visions, create emotion, and that's what people will connect to. So that's why we got to find what the gaps are in the current service or product or whatever it is that they have, and then lean in with a story about how we solved their thing. I would be willing to bet, because you do have a pretty feature-rich product, it's easy to start naming off bullet points of features, right?
Yeah.
We have this. This is why my PTO tracker's better.
Yeah.
Like those are facts.
Yep.
And it's not that those facts aren't important. The delivery of those facts is going to matter to the person that you're talking to, the four different styles.
Yeah.
That high C, you can just dump facts on them all day because they're processing those high facts, or those all those facts. The D's eyes are rolling back in their head because it's not that some of the facts aren't important to them. That's just not how they're wired. It's like, tell them a quick story about how it made their life better, someone else's life better, and how it's going to make their life better.
Impact sales, emotional impact. Get the D's, all their emotional impact, and then they're
just
done.
Move on.
Yeah.
And eyes are quick to trust. You give them a story about another person and you go, here it is. And they're like, oh, all right, cool, man. Steve referred you. That sounds amazing. Let's sign. And not talk through the sale, because high eyes will talk through the darn sale. You gotta stop when the person says they're ready to go. If it's an S, you might proactively offer up other clients that would be happy to speak on your behalf, because they're a little slower to trust.
Yep.
So it's getting a feel for those things, and then the salesperson in the moment being able to think on their feet and ask another great question, or make a really pointed statement that gets that person sticking with your product as the solution that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking of a lot of different things. I remember when I sold PEO, there was some like national PEO sales training, and it's funny. You can see how that sales training, like the ideal business was a business with like 20 to 30 employees. At that phase was the ideal target to go sell PEO services to. And the whole training was about emotional impact. Yeah. And it was like, and I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, they're just assuming their target business owner, because they always said, don't sell to HR people, don't sell to CFOs. You got to sell, this only works with CEOs. And then they didn't say this, but they should have said that are high Ds. Because like everything about that approach was like a story and impact, a story, emotional impact. There's all these different types of impact that they're bringing. They're like, get to that. And everything about that approach was really good sales training, and I do think it works. But then it's also definitely aimed at that D, and then, but even my D, even being superior, is I remember going in with this sales trainer, because that sales trainers always like me in these like group settings where I'm there, and because I like to ask them kind of hard questions, and I asked them a hard question about like, has anybody ever like asked you to hold you, like, cause the training is a little too much about the story and not about the actual impact. Does that make sense? You ever been in sales training where it's almost like, this is the approach to get here, but then it's like, do you ever go back a year later, measure that, and then show them that? And then it's like, nobody ever asked for that. And the response turned my D off a little bit. Cause I'm just like, I would, like if you're really going to talk impact, there's always numbers behind impact. And it's like, and then I guess I'm a little bit of a C too, cause I'm wanting to see numbers behind my impact. So,
well, plus that's where testimonials come from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did we perform the way we said we were going to? Yeah. Did we provide you that gap filler that we said our product can do for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I like how you're approaching your, this podcast about like, having better sales conversations. I want to ask you a question because you're working with a lot of different companies right now. And this is just, I'm not connected to the rest of the sales. And I'll admit, I told you, I'm a sales manager for a year.
Yep.
So my sales manager network is still not huge yet, but like, the one thing that I'm feeling is I feel like, and I make this joke because my competition is kind of in the SaaS industry because we do sell payroll and HR software, but I feel like the whole Silicon Valley blow up of the financial crisis through the pandemic of the SaaS industry has kind of ruined the B2B sales employee base a little. I feel like that whole model of hiring SDRs and then getting rid of them, and then the VC model of getting investors and going real crazy, and like nobody's building sales careers, and they're not developing skills. And that's what I'm trying to do with my team. Is I really want to build a payroll sales career for my team. Like that's like I say that to them all the time, and it helps. I've had some of these people who know what I mean, that they came from this SaaS world where they kept getting laid off, even though they thought they were doing well. And have you noticed any trends like that in your client base or anything you've seen? Or
no, not specifically. So I have some limited exposure in the kind of the SaaS space, like you were saying. And I can't say that I've had any specific conversations to that effect, but I can speak to your perception, we'll say just more generically speaking, about developing sales teams. Most organizations, and by the way, this is more of a statistic, and it's also a statistic that I read so long ago that I can't remember the exact source, but this is just in the last few years, that roughly 60% of organizations admit that they are okay at best at sales training. And it was like 72 or 3% of salespeople admit to being self-taught. So we have this gap in the folks that we're hiring and then what our expectations are of them. I've come to the conclusion over these last number of years that I've been doing this, that if you have the word sales in your title, you do get some training, like you would say, hey, here's what payroll looks like. Here are the things you got to keep in mind. And our business model is for you to go, for example, door to door, 20 doors a day.
Yeah.
Unless you get into one, then it'll take longer. So then you might only hit 15.
Yeah.
But that's our business model. Good luck.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time, where that's the expectation. Now that, to be fair to the audience, that's very generalized, I know. But that does happen. And it says so in the stats where people were willing enough to admit that those kinds of things happen. So my goal is to not have a sales training and then never see the people again. My goal is that anyone gets to do any kind of sales training, that there's intentional follow-up, whether it's monthly or quarterly or something, because another one of those stats was that, again, I don't remember exactly, it's been a few years, but 83% of the salespeople say that within 3 months, they've forgotten the sales training, which means it wasn't reinforced. So whatever the different nuances to the training were, you don't do them all every day. Some of the stuff we talked about today, you might not ask that question but twice a week, or depending on the situation,
Yeah.
let's hypothetically say once a month. Well, it doesn't stick. And so you forget.
Yep.
And then you go back to the way you were used to doing it, even though it was okay or whatever it might be. And nobody wants that, right? The training is done for all the right reasons. Let's help it stick.
Yeah.
So my goal is that an organization would want to invest in just some minor follow-up to make sure that it's sticking.
Yes.
And that way the investment has done what it was supposed to do, which was improve the sales skills of the team.
Do you ever think, I kind of feel like marketing has gotten so good now that it made sales too easy for some of these companies. And like, cause they keep, like, if you're a sales manager out there trying to figure out tools, like, okay, nobody wants to let AI get by them. What tools should I be using that I'm not? And I'm keeping open-minded to that. But then you start listening to and I don't know, I'm kind of in the SaaS and AI world lately because I've been looking at those tools and like that, the inbound leads. I'm like, dude, I don't have a ton of inbound leads. Like I guess I'm outbound, I'm looking for outbound solutions. So like everything you're saying means nothing to me. Like I'm like people selling me tools for, different things. And I almost feel like, because I saw the evolution at my one company I was at for 11 years where we went from, this old school Zig Ziglar cold call data to implementing a CRM that had then brought in digital marketing. And then we didn't understand what digital marketing was. We didn't really get that, people were touching these blogs somebody was making 5 or 6 times. And then, then they'd finally become a lead, but but it shifted. And then everything became about getting these marketing leads. You know what I mean? How it just, it used to be sales made their own meetings from their own, and it was just interesting. And I still have a lot of that old school mentality today. And I'm still, my biggest thing is like, because we don't have the greatest marketing at Payroll Partners. We just hired our marketing person started Monday. So that's going to get better quickly. But like, it's just like, are my expectations of salespeople too old school still? And because everybody's got these marketing tech stacks and things, and I don't know. Sales
has come a long way in just the last handful or two of years. To your point, people talk about sales and marketing, and they always say it that way, right? Sales and marketing, when in reality, marketing is what creates the leads. Sales is what creates the customers.
Yeah.
And traditionally, salespeople were both marketing and then sales because they would go to networking groups, trade associations, functions. That's all marketing.
Yeah, that still works. Yeah.
100%. But that's all marketing.
Yeah.
That activity, strictly speaking. And then once the person is interested and I go to your office for a meeting, now it's sales.
Yeah.
Right? So there are all kinds of tools now that sales organizations will implement. One of them is called actually sales enablement, where there is a separate person / department between marketing and sales to make sure that sales has all the things they need from marketing. Because if we're being honest, in most organizations that have truly defined marketing departments and sales departments, there's like a disconnect in communication. So there's a new group of people, or at least a person, who makes sure the salesperson has everything they need from marketing in a timely fashion so that when they go out and they're talking to prospects and existing clients about new things, they're equipped and they're ready to roll. For me, I look at it this way. Regardless of your role, the more tasks you're doing that are commensurate to your role, the more value you're providing to the organization. So speaking of sales specifically, I'm not saying don't have sales do any marketing tasks at all. But if you have great marketing and you can continually put leads, good qualified leads in front of your closers, and all they do is close all day, that's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Again, doesn't mean they shouldn't go to networking events and drum up their own leads also. But having a great marketing company who gets you the right interested people, you still got to close them.
Yeah.
Like you may find out that you're not the right fit. You got a great lead and it wound up going in a different direction.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a personal lead. It wasn't somebody looking on the internet going, I want to look at payroll today.
Yeah.
And Googling and finding you guys and deciding this was a warm introduction of some sort, right? We don't know exactly, but so anyway, we want great marketing. We want the leads to be so awesome that our people can go in and build some rapport and build a great relationship. And then on the back end, because it's necessary, talk about why my features are better than those features. And then we create a client for life, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's what, we'd want our marketing to be that good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess I have a challenge because I kind of like the sales role where I get to be a little bit of the marketing.
Sure.
You know, even though like it's not a money driven statement at all. Like if you're a money driven salesperson, you just want to close and you want to,
100%.
But I kind of like doing both pieces. I think this is really good. Actually, this interview is great content for my brand new marketing person. I'm gonna ask her if she'll listen to it. But I think this will give her some good insight into marketing and payroll. She's an experienced marketing person, just first time in payroll.
Yeah, so. Man. Well, that's exciting though. It'll be exciting to have that, and with your team that you just said you have a brand new person. So as it continues to grow, you guys are already the biggest in Cincinnati, you said. So it'll be exciting to watch all of that continue to develop. Yeah, we're excited. We're taking over Ohio and Kentucky. Love it. Increasing our market share. Love it. We'll see where we go from there. Well, it's a perfect point to stop because we're about out of our time for today. So, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks. The Adaptive Seller today. I had a great time. Awesome. Thanks, Jim. You bet. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Adaptive Seller. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.